All right, let's talk some spring football down in the Bayou. Jacob Hester, LSU great. He and T-Bob do a fantastic show down there as well. Will talk with us now about the LSU spring game coming up this weekend, and he joins us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline, except for the fact that I can't get my phone thing to work here. Jim, do you have yours up?
We got him.
All right, Jacob with us now. What is up, Jacob? How are you?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How y'all doing this afternoon?
Doing great, man. Thanks a lot. Let's start by the fact that I was a little taken aback. We played the sound from Brian Kelly. I'm not suggesting he's making a mistake by doing this. I was just surprised he's in this situation. That he was unhappy with the format of the spring game because you can't go strictly ones and twos. You kind of got to go offense and defense because of your roster situation. You follow it on the day-to-day. I was a little surprised from Birmingham, Alabama, the roster had gotten to the point you got to make a decision like that.
Well, if you remember the last time we saw LSU play, they had 39 scholarship players in a bowl game. I mean, the roster just absolutely took a hit over the last couple of years because of guys going to the NFL early, certainly the transfer portal, injuries, just different things. I mean, so you're talking about playing a game where you only have 39 scholarship players, and then you take the program over and you bring in a lot of players, but you obviously, you're going to lose a lot of players in the portal as well anytime you have that much change like LSU has. And so I think they're in a much better situation. I think Brian Kelly thought it would be better at this point, bringing in like 16, 17 guys through the transfer portal, but it's still not exactly where it needs to be. Now, certainly you'll get some of those high school signees on campus in the summertime to, try to even some things out. And let's be honest, we all know this. They're not done in the transfer portal either. So they'll add players after they finish up spring football, certainly May going in to June, but they're trying to get back to those numbers. But guys, I mean, it was left pretty bare from where it was to what they're trying to get to.
Listen, Jacob, I'm old. I was raised in the 1900s, but here in the 2000, LSU has been a dominant program, the fifth winningest program since 2000. So if I say to you, a guy who spilt blood for the program, what makes year one a successful year for Brian Kelly? How do you answer that? When it's all said and done, what is successful in year one? Because to me, it's always a championship program, but that's not where they are right now. For you, what's successful?
No, they're not there right now, and we really don't certainly kind of know what it's going to look like because there is so much new. But you said it there. LSU is a place that wins championships. I mean, outside of Alabama, they've won the second most in the last 2 decades, right? They've won 3 national championships. They've played for 4. So the standard is the standard. And Brian Kelly will tell you that. Look, is there work to be done? Absolutely. But you can't go into a season saying, oh, man, if we could just get 8 games. That's just not what it is at LSU. I think LSU is a place where you always have to be going for those New Year's Six bowl games, kind of being the bare minimum. That should be what you shoot for to say, okay, we had a good season. A great season, obviously, is SEC and national championships. And I don't expect that to change. And look, they've brought in these players through the transfer portal, Sevyn Banks from Ohio State, Jaden Daniels from Arizona State, and we could go on to be competitive in this football season, right? These are guys that don't have a long future at LSU because they're older players. They might only be here for this season, and so they have those aspirations to go out there and play for championships. Because if it's not that mentality at LSU, then you're at the wrong place. And so what's realistic, we'll find more out on Saturday and certainly the opener against Florida State. But coming into the season, I don't think you change your expectations because that's why you've hit the transfer portal so hard. And so I would assume that's going to be look, we know the fans also, not only in the SEC but at LSU, they don't want to hear we're shooting for 8 or 9 wins. They want to see you go out there and be championship competitive.
With your sources, I don't know if you have a feel on who the quarterback will be eventually, but do you believe they've got a guy they're comfortable with that's going to win the job and be a starter for 12 games? Or do you foresee this possibly being a 2-quarterback system in the Florida State game and have to work itself out even in competitive situations?
I know right here and right now it's still a wide open competition. I think out of the 4 quarterbacks, I think obviously you look at Walker Howard, he's an extremely young football player, still supposed to be in high school. He's here at spring practice. But outside of that, I mean, you've got guys competing. I'm not going to get Nussmeier out of this competition. I know a lot of people want to make it a 2-man race, but I truly think it is wide open. I don't think anything's close to being settled. And so when you go out there and you go to practice, I mean, you'll have kind of an order of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they'll come back and it'll be 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm talking about getting reps with the first team. So they're still trying to figure it out. I think this is a battle that will go well into fall camp. I don't know if you'll have a starter name before the week of the Florida State game. It just kind of has that feel to it. And as far as two quarterback system, is it viable? It is, because you have quarterbacks that have different skill sets. Now, is it something they want to do? I know Brian Kelly's said in the past he's not a huge fan of maybe a two quarterback system, but if it helps your football team win games, then so be it. And I think there is an opportunity to see a couple of quarterbacks play in the opener just because their styles are so different. So this thing is long from settled. We'll be at SEC Media Days in a couple of months. We'll be talking about the same thing, which LSU quarterback is going to emerge. And I still don't think even at that point in July we're going to have an idea. And I still think, honestly, it's going to be a three-quarterback race. And so, is that a good thing? I don't know. But it's still something that's going to happen because you have a new offense. You have a coaching staff trying to learn all of these players, right? They've never coached this set of players. And also, look, you've got to be strategic because, as we know, if you name a starting quarterback too early, what seems like a surplus right now might become an issue because maybe you lose two of those quarterbacks. And so you have to play that game as well.
You kind of answered my question, Jacob. Jacob Hester with us at Jacob Hester 18, off the bench with T-Bob. That's where he is on Twitter, by the way. Off the bench with T-Bob down in Louisiana. He's about to jump on Sirius XM. You hear him on there often. And he's on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. In true fashion, I'm still going to ask the question anyway. More important or bigger impact to the 2022 season, Jaden Daniels or Noah Cain for LSU?
I think it's Jaden Daniels because Noah Cain, I think, is going to be a nice secondary piece.
Wow.
I think he's going to add to that running back room. He just lost Corey Kiner to Cincinnati. He goes back home, so he was in the portal for literally 15 minutes, and he was already choosing to go back home to Cincinnati. And I think John Emery is really set up to have a breakout all-SEC type year. And so that's why I say that. I think John Emery is the back. I know we've said that before, and I know that there's been some issues getting him on the field, but the young man has done incredibly well in the classroom, put his head down, went to work, takes all the blame for why he wasn't on the field a year ago, and I expect him to have a monster year. And I think Jaden Daniels, with each practice, is starting to really gain the trust of the coaching staff, and he's firmly in that battle. I mean, if he was named the starter, I don't think anybody would be surprised. And so just for those reasons, because I expect Henry to have such a monster year, and Jaden Daniels is somebody that looks really comfortable out there so far in the spring.
Being almost a decade younger than Tom Brady, did you watch any of the USFL this past weekend, and is there ever an itch for you to suit up again and try to go play somewhere?
I did watch the USFL because my co-host, T-Bob Hebert, his dad, Bobby Hebert, was a Michigan Panther and started his career there. So we actually kind of talked about it on and off the air a bunch. And so, I was very intrigued to kind of see what the product looked like. And obviously, we recognize some of the names. There's some familiar names in the league, like a Shea Patterson. Like my brother coached him in high school, in the high school level. So, try to see exactly how Shea was going to play and just storylines like that. And I thought the first game was fantastic involving Birmingham and New Jersey there. The crowd actually looked great as well. So I definitely look, if it's football, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tune in, certainly, when there's nothing else football-wise going on. I think it's intriguing. I'm excited about the XFL. And to the second part of that question, absolutely not. There is no way I am ever getting the itch. I retired with an NFL contract. There is no way that a 36, very soon to be 37-year-old Jacob Hester is ever putting on a pair of shoulder pads again, because I would tear both hamstrings. And I think I'm like Not Another Team movie, that if I have one more concussion, that might be it for me. So I have the counter, and my number is still at 1. So I'm saving that one concussion for something maybe a little bit more exciting.
Yeah. Hey, saving that one concussion.
Hey, it just dawned on me as a guy with hair back then. I was at the Hebert game at Legion Field.
Oh, really?
That was Bobby Hebert beating the Birmingham Stallions, of which I was a season ticket fan, 9-7. I was also at T-Bob's game of the century in Tuscaloosa that was 9-6. I don't know what it is about the A-Bears with me in the stadium, but there's no offense anytime the A-Bears are around.
The Cajun Cannon could only produce 9 points?
It was 9-7 in that game, and it was 9-6 in the game of the century.
Hester, I expect more out of the Cajun Cannon. Don't you? 9 points?
Hell, the A-Bears were just were lacking in offense when I was in the stadium with them. Before you go, Jacob.
If you could get the Cajun Cannon on the line to recap that game, he could go, I guarantee you, play for play, for about 30 minutes and tell you why they only scored 9 points.
I'm
He's one of the
sure.
best at recapping a game. So if you ever get that opportunity, it's something you need to do.
Oh, I'd love to. He's been on the show before. He's fun.
Hey, as a guy who got called out on this show when I first started doing it 13 years ago, my driver's license said 6 feet. I'm actually 5'10" and a half. I see on your Wikipedia you're 5'11". Does your driver's license say 6 feet?
Without question, it says 6 feet tall. And then, like, if you don't do that, then what are we really doing? I mean, look, you're going to try to steal every single inch that you possibly can. So it says 6 feet, probably like 230, because I got it when I was playing. So like 6 feet, 230, and it is what it is. And by the way, like, I don't know how in the world I measured at 5'11" in the combine. I think I'm more 5'10" and a half. But look, I mean, as true of a measurement as there is at the NFL Combine, I got 5'11", and let me tell you, if somebody asks me, how tall are you truly, like knowing I'm not 6 foot, I'm going to tell them 5'11", even though I don't think that's actually factual.
Well, see, when you get my age, you start shrinking like the first scene in Up, the animated series. You just start shrinking down. I think I actually was 6 feet at one time.
Yeah, I think I was. I might have been as well, but you know what? 20 and 30 ISO against guys like Zach Thomas and Ray Lewis and Patrick Willis. I think my neck is like a trash compactor. It just keeps getting squished and squished with every ISO block. And so I think that's where my 2 inches are.
Yeah. All right. He is Jacob Hester. Go follow him on Twitter. You could do that at Jacob Hester 18 off the bench there in Louisiana. He and T-Bob do an amazing job. Jacob, thank you for the time, man. Always fun talking with you.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
All right, buddy. You too. Hester with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.